So last week, man, we had a nice slate of games, some surprises. The Bias Plus suffered a bit last week from the
Mm.
previous week before. Bias Plus is the report that we'll be talking about, and we'll share that information with everyone. But wow, um, there were just some crazy games. Let's start out. We talked about the Niners and the Cardinals. Niners cards. The Bias Plus score favored the Niners. They came in, took them a minute to get things in order, but after that game, one of our linemen said chasing Kyler Murray is like chasing a squirrel.
Oh gosh. I've never tried to chase a squirrel. I took that L right off the bat, but it's got to be tough. However, old Kyler had a tough time with the 49ers D on Thursday night. He couldn't get much going for a change. He looks real scary when he's running around out there, but they boxed him in, sacked him a few times. He didn't have a big pile of yardage running, and they were having a lot of trouble moving the ball. Sometime in the second half, I forget, he did connect with Andy Isabella for a long 88-yard touchdown run, which was really, it wasn't really the throw. Well, the throw was actually a good throw, but Isabella caught the ball on the sideline, prevented himself from running out of bounds, and then took off. That little dude's fast, man. He's fast. But
he took off. Sherman was there, and all Sherman could do was spin and watch him run away. It was like, holy man, he was out.
Yeah, because the way he ran his route, I don't know if Sherman thought he had coverage over the top, but he seemed to be underneath him, and they were kind of heading like a corner route to the sideline.
Right.
So, yeah, there was nothing. He barely was able to keep himself from going out of bounds after he caught it and then take off back. And Sherman was like, I can't. Come on. I can't change direction like that anymore. But the big deal of the night was the one thing that people were questioning, including me, about the 49ers was, what's going to happen when they get in the game and they really need to throw the ball? Are they going to be able to do it? I expect that they would be able to do it. I increased their chances of being able to do it after they got Emmanuel Sanders. Jimmy G put on a bit of a show. It's 23 out of 37, 317 yards. That's big for him. I don't know how many 300-yard games he has in his career, but it ain't many. It ain't many. And I don't know how many times he's thrown 37 passes in a game, but it ain't many. 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. I think they've put a nice-sized Band-Aid on one of the little problems that they had.
I was going to call you when Pettis scored.
Don't get me started on it. Folks, thank God for Emmanuel Sanders, all you 49er fans out there. Thank God for George Kittle. Those two will carry your passing offense for you along with Jimmy G. All right? Them other guys,
he's not a believer.
A bunch of stiffs.
He's not a believer.
Believe in what, man? Show me something I should believe in. There's nothing to believe in.
It's a team concept, and that's why you're having your struggles here. Because when you look at your fantasy numbers, they're all out of whack.
It has nothing to do with fantasy.
It doesn't.
Look at his real statistics.
Doesn't relate to what's
Google
going
his real
on
statistics.
in the game.
If he has, I would venture to guess.
Look at whose statistic.
Who did you mention?
Pettis.
Okay.
For example.
Look at his.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You're looking at those statistics, and
then what does that got to do with fantasy?
Because that's the statistics you look.
We're not talking about fantasy. The real statistics.
You can look at the real statistics. Doesn't make
has nothing to do with fantasy
statistics.
Why are we talking about fantasy back?
No,
I'll let you know when we're talking about fantasy.
No. Let me say this.
Oh my
Aren't
God.
the fantasy statistics taken from the real statistics?
The fantasy statistics are the real statistics.
Well, then there's no big difference. So I'm saying, and you look at the statistics and you say that doesn't look like he's dominant. Doesn't look like
doesn't look like he's dominant. Doesn't look like he's playing.
I'm saying that's within the game plan. That's within what they're
Give
doing.
me game plan. Now,
We're running the ball.
Pettis, remember, we're going to throw you the ball 2 times today. Make sure you catch one of them.
It might be.
And maybe by game 9, we'll throw you a ball in the red zone and get you a touchdown.
We got you one. Because they have to respect that run. It's all been established. Let's continue to move on. Mr. Dickerson, well, who's up next? And which game is this that you like? Texans, Jaguars. Well, I remember thinking this after this game that Mr. Minshew has paved the way for a return of Nick Foles.
Absolutely. Well, I thought that before the game, and I think he thought it too.
Really?
Because he went over to England and stunk it up. After we both sat here and said, the Jaguars have been to England so many times, they're calling it their second home. They know where to go, where to sleep, how to manage the time.
He wasn't part of that, that history, though.
But he's been there.
He didn't even have a passport.
Play there one time.
I don't think he hadn't been there.
They
said that was his first time to England.
He didn't play. They said that was he was on the team.
Maybe he didn't travel
with him. That's weird. Well, guess what?
Did we just say
he stunk it up? He stunk it up. I got nothing else to say with the Minshew magic and the mustache and all that. That's the last you've seen of that, folks, until Nick Foles hurts himself again, which is guaranteed is going to happen sometime in the near future. Nonetheless, let's talk about a real quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Threw 28 passes, completed 22 of them. A meager 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good game management job. Better job than I thought by the Texans defense. They kept the Jaguars off their stride the entire game. Completely fooled me. I took the Jaguars. The Jaguars did have the turnover bias, which I thought might work in their favor against Deshaun going overseas and all that. Maybe they catch him on the off. Didn't work. The Texans defense just completely stifled the Jaguars. I'm in shock. I don't know what to say. Shouldn't have went against the bias on that one.
Well, the bias, yeah, but it wasn't a big bias.
No, it was small. I really looked at this as like a pretty even game, and the Jaguars didn't put up much of a fight at all.
Well, again, what you're looking at there is Deshaun versus Minshew, and
I expect Deshaun to win. I also expect Minshew to compete. He didn't compete. He had nothing.
Nothing. What about the Bears at the Eagles? Bias plus score favorite the Bears.
Talk about nothing. First of all, the bias plus was in favor of the Bears. Another small number. I think it's only 8.
Yeah, real small.
I took the Eagles. They were home. The Bears really have shown me nothing. Their passing game is basically Allen Robinson. That's about it. The run game, however, they had a discovery last week, the same as the Eagles did. Howard for the Eagles. Montgomery, young guy for the Bears. I believe Montgomery had a good day, but not good enough. Now, Mr. Wentz was 26 for 39 for 239 yards. He threw for 1 touchdown. He looked kind of out of sync too a little bit, though. He's also leaning very heavily on Zach Ertz. Now, some people think that's a bad thing. Some Eagles fans think that's a bad thing. But you might want to rethink it because the guy caught 9 passes, 103, caught a touchdown. Howard had a nice day on the ground, almost 20 carries. He has 80-some yards and a touchdown. Alshon Jeffrey caught 4 balls, dropped 4 balls.
Did he drop 4?
I'm not going to talk about Aguilar, who can't even get open. Okay? That funny name dude, Whiteside.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he even gets on the field. And if he does, he barely runs a route or he's blocking for somebody. And Mac Hollins is a complete waste of time. I heard this morning they're going out and they're going to re-sign Jordan Matthews. Remember him? That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is, folks. But they got the win. Kudos for getting the win. Who's next up for them? Patriots?
We'll find out in a minute. I'm not quite sure.
Somebody just whispered in my ear.
All right. So,
Ay, caramba.
Kirk Cousins goes into Kansas City. First off, again, the amount of talent around that the Kansas City has, and we talked about calling your quarterback a point guard. I actually heard I say that you want a great point guard.
Absolutely.
And I keep hearing it in the media, almost in the negative term, like, oh, he's just a point guard. Like that's not a good thing.
Yeah, well, it goes along with the whole game manager theory.
When you wouldn't.
But part of being a good point guard is not turning the ball over.
That's right. That's right. Distribution. It's about distribution.
Right.
And so then you have your point guard, with extraordinary ball skills.
Correct.
That's a Lamar Jackson type guy that we're finding that out now. But the Vikings point guard is Kirk Cousins.
Yes, he is.
Okay. And they're
coming off of 2 hot games.
And their running back is considered the top rusher, I think, yardage wise.
I believe so. Dalvin Cook, he's up there.
He's number 1. So that turned out to be a pretty good game. I thought it was an interesting game. I enjoyed it. The outcome was the outcome. What did you think?
Yeah, well, the only problem for the Vikings was that the one thing that the Kansas City Chiefs defense has shown that they can do from time to time is get to the quarterback.
Rush the quarterback.
And
that's
this time they were able to get to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So you put enough disruption on him, get the score to the point where you kind of take the ball out of Dalvin Cook's hands. And then you have Matt Moore, 25 for 35, 275. It's not bad for backup. 3 for 1 touchdown. And then Damian Williams, who hadn't done nothing in a month, rushes 12 times for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. 1 run, 91 yards. Bam.
With the cheetah running up behind him.
Yeah, wasn't that crazy? Did you look? I made a point of getting up the next morning so I knew they were going to show the replay. And I said, as soon as they start to show this play, I'm going to find Tyreek Hill. I want to see exactly where he is on the field. So he was over on the sideline. He had run a route. Williams starts running. And he's standing still. So he's all the way on the sideline. The ball carrier's in the middle of the field. And he's standing flat-footed still. The running back runs by where he is. And then he turns and takes off on a slight angle toward the middle of the field, catches him, and actually ran by him a little bit. Like he could have just.
He
and Damian Williams is not slow.
He put himself in position to make sure that nobody could
come up and yes.
So he actually put himself in, but just to see him zoom past everybody, I think they clocked him at 22
miles per hour.
Something
crazy.
Like that. So speed like that, hops like he had, like he showed in the week before, where he out-leaped like 3 people at the goal line.
Kid's tremendous athlete.
It's
ridiculous,
man.
Tremendous.
It is ridiculous. So, the Vikings, had the net points, but the Chiefs came home with the win, and what can I tell you?
Yeah, Vikings fooled me there. Net points said Vikings. I said Vikings. I really thought they were going to catch the Chiefs. Every time I doubt these guys, they come up with a win. I don't know.
Well,
every time they look vulnerable. Go ahead.
The next team we're going to look at is the Washington team that needs to change their name at the Bills. We get good at it. I got it built in now.
I wonder how many people actually looked at this and said, does he know he spelled Washington wrong?
Yeah. Like, what is that? So, hey, when I get a chance, I'm going to reach out to all the indigenous tribes. They got Facebook pages and everything. And I'm going to try to get them to adopt this as a hashtag, team that needs to change their name. So we might be famous Anyway, the
Well,
bias plus score was 110 in the Bills' favor.
right, they're not going to get famous as a football team, that's for sure. Not the state that they're in, and people are questioning whether Dan Snyder's even going to be able to keep this team.
Oh, they're questioning that at that point?
Yeah, it's a mess, man. I think people are still protesting.
Yeah, they
of
are.
course.
Well,
And then they have like a really big one right at the beginning of every season. But then during the season, these groups pop up in the parking lot and outside the stadium, and but that's another story, an important story, but another one nonetheless. Big thing for the Bills. Their running game has been fairly efficient. I'm not going to say it's a really good running game, but it's been fairly efficient. Old man Frank Gore has been plugging along at three yards a pop, amazingly. And Josh Allen, who will not be misconstrued as a great quarterback, has been doing just enough, on top of the fact that their defense is really solid. And they've been winning games, and they have a good record. But there was a changing of the guard at the running back position. They finally gave Devin Singletary, who had been fighting a hamstring problem, a chance to get more carries than Gore got, and it paid off. Carried the ball 20 times, had 95 yards. He scored a touchdown. So I think Gore is going to slowly start to lose carries up there. Might be time for the old man to give it up. I don't know. We'll see. But kudos to Devin Singletary.
All right. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. We will move on. Colts, Steelers. The bias plus score favored the Steelers by just 8. Yeah.
This is one of my losses where I went against the bias, because I went with the bias quite a bit and lost a few games. And this is why the casinos and the bookies make money, man. You got to be careful when you're looking at these teams and looking at these matchups and trying to go with the hot hand. The hot hand method might work in basketball. It might even work for running backs, but it doesn't work for teams. You know what I mean? Teams look like the Vikings. 2 weeks in a row, Kirk Cousins looked crazy unstoppable, and everybody was already afraid of Dalvin Cook, and their defense was playing really, really well. Then they go in against the Chiefs, who look like they were limping, and they lose. Same thing here. Steelers didn't show me nothing when they played the Dolphins. Really. I mean, they showed that they've got some good defensive players, but they didn't look that scary to me. Well, sir, 5 sacks, 1 interception, 2 fumble recoveries, and a defensive touchdown later. Oh, and they blocked a kick too. Are you kidding me? Poor Colts. And Brissett claims that he might play this week. Did you see his injury?
No. Well,
he had 2 injuries on the same play. One guy rolled up on his ankle. He hopped out of that, and then somebody else rolled on his knee. Same play. Scary, man. But it doesn't look like he's going to be out multiple weeks. I don't think he's going to play this week, but he's trying to come back this week, which means to me that maybe it looked a little worse than it was. So.
Well, next up was the Basement Bowl, and the bias favored the Jets, 62. And you had been talking about the Dolphins, and you had your piece, your dissertation on tanking.
And then what did I do?
You tank.
I took the freaking Jets. What the? But I really, after I gave my dissertation, please go back and look at it again. I am, because it was entertaining even to me. After I gave all my dissertation, I kind of got my thoughts jumbled and picked the wrong doggone team. Not saying I made a mistake and said Jets when I should have said Dolphins. I really did pick the Jets. But after I thought about it later, I was like, that was dumb. Miami's better than them. The Jets are a mess. They're a mess. I don't even want to talk specifics. They're a mess. Le'Veon Bell's trying to get out of there already.
But he just put something up on social media talking about, have patience, stick with us.
That's easy for him to say.
Support us until the underground train gets here and I can get on.
And I can load all my stuff up and get the heck out of here.
The Dolphins was like, we not having it. We not having it.
And they have a pretty spirited crowd at home, too.
The management's up there like, no, don't score. No, take a minute. Oh, man. I mean, it's.
What are you going to do?
That's the thing. What you going to do? I mean, did you play? What do you do, Ben?
You play to win the game.
You play to win the game.
That's right.
That's what you do here, And I mean, look, that's what they did, and that's what they're going to continue to do. They had the pouring of the champagne over the coach, I think. Then they did something.
They put the Gatorade on him, like it was a Super Bowl win or something. Hey, guess what?
It was a Gatorade.
That's good, and I'll bet you that he felt great about that. That made him feel good, man. When you're not winning, and then you finally win a game, I don't care if you played against girls. You're going to be happy. I'm just saying.
Man, I can't wait till you get the letters from the girls.
No. It's even worse is when you play girls and you lose.
Oh, boy. You're going to get.
I'm digging deeper?
Yeah.
Okay, let me stop then.
Yeah. Your daughter's going to call you now. He's going to be like, you lost me in fantasy. You know that.
She texted me today, Dad, I need a tight end. I'm like, I can't help you. I'm losing.
He's like, go to the gym.
I'm losing in that. Yeah, right. That's a good one.
Thank you. Oh, man.
Where we at, man?
All right, quick joke.
I'm listening.
I think I told you this, but I'll say it again.
I'll laugh again.
For everybody, right? Wife says to the husband, why are you whispering? And the husband says, I think, I'm afraid Alexis might be listening in. And the wife laughed. And Alexis laughed. Siri laughed. They all laughed.
Listen, it's funny the second time.
Yeah, well. I thought it was pretty good. Ladies and germs. Titans, Panthers, by a score of 21, favored the Titans.
Okay. So the bias favored the Titans.
Yeah.
Who are slightly more exciting to watch now that Tannehill's the quarterback.
Oh, you're going to give him a little bit of love now, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to see. This another little comeback story, because people were pretty much throwing Tannehill on the scrap heap down in Miami, as they should have. But he was able to get away, and now he's kind of got another team of his own that has a little bit more talent and has an actual real defense, and he's doing a lot better. However, the Carolina Panthers have Christian McCaffrey. That's a whole nother story right there. That's like when I forget who it was, and the guy said, "Oh, we have the Hulk." Oh, yeah. We got this, that, and the other. I got an army,
Thor's brother.
Yeah, we got the Hulk. So
it's like,
yeah.
All this, like, we got the Hulk.
Right. That's Christian McCaffrey. So carried the ball 24 times. This is the thing. I remember when he came up into the draft, because the Eagles passed on him. A lot of teams passed on him. They said he was too small. This guy carries the ball between 18 and 28 times per game and catches like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 passes per game. And he's holding up just fine. 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, and 1 went for 58 yards. I think the 1 through the air was a 58-yard catch and run. That's all I got to say about that.
Him taking off up the middle.
Beautiful run.
I mean,
he's magnificent, man. Guy's a really good back.
He bulked up over the summer.
Yes, he did.
He
Yes,
really
he did.
bulked up over the summer, and
He
it's
did
serving
very
him
well. Serving him very well.
well right now. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Next in line, Buccaneers went in to check out the 12th man. Might say,
I don't have any notes about the Buccaneers. Oh, that's because I don't have to have notes about the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are basically Jameis Winston and Evans and Godwin, and that's about it. They have no running game. They have no secondary. They can't stop the pass. They're pretty good against the run, but some of those run numbers are skewed because it's so easy to throw the ball on them that nobody bothers to run. That being said, they actually went up and gave the Seahawks a game. They jumped out to a big lead, right? 14-0 or something? Yeah, they were on fire. And then Russell Wilson decided that he was going to show everybody why he's Russell Wilson.
yeah, because they tied the game up.
Yeah.
Late.
Yeah.
Gave the ball back to Russell.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, remember back in the day, it was like you never really want, well, you don't want to do that anyway with most decent teams.
Mm-hmm.
But people like Peyton Manning, it's like, you want to do everything you could to make sure that he got have no timeouts,
exactly,
and no time.
Manning, Brady, those are the guys.
3 if you could make it, because
right.
with the 3 seconds that was left, they was still at a 50-50 shot of scoring.
Exactly.
It's like, oh,
and that's as soon as you turn it over, you're like, oh no.
Russ,
we gave it back to him.
Dangerous.
Yeah, 29 for 43. That's a lot of passes. I didn't look at their run stats. 43 passes, that's a lot of passes. 378 yards.
Run a little
Did they struggle
to
run
run a little
well,
bit.
That's what I said. Buccaneers are good against the run. Buccaneers are good against the run. So they force you to throw the ball, and then because that's what they do the best, every game becomes a shootout. But when you're Russell Wilson, you figure out a way to win those kind of games. So he throws for 5 touchdowns. Those for 5 touchdowns. Oh, I made a note about the opening drive. He was 5 for 5 with 73 yards and a touchdown on the opening drive. That's masterful. Tyler Lockett, 152 yards on. No way. He had 13 catches. Jeez.
No.
2 touchdowns, and DK Metcalf, 123 yards on only 6 catches. 1 touchdown. He's turned it into just what you said he was going to be.
No, you didn't just say that.
Yeah, I always give credit where credit is due.
That's nice. That's nice.
He ran a nice comeback, though. He drove the guy off.
He caught the one pass and just accelerated. Just got into his stride, and it was like, oh, you're not going to catch that guy, man. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. So, yeah, DK, and they've actually now they've joked. I've heard them say DK with his stiff hips.
Oh, because they kept saying that at the combine. Yeah,
he had the really bad, the Tom Brady, with the little thing where you
the shuttle
run, time. And I'm like,
all that may be true. And like I said, after the draft or before the draft, basically what that means is he may or may not be a real good route runner, because you need loose hips to run really good, diverse routes. But that doesn't mean he's not going to make it in the NFL. I mean, Deshaun Jackson's not a diverse route runner either. He made himself a nice little career if he can stay on the field. But that's another story. But yeah, the guy's big. So if he runs a comeback or he runs a little curl, he can out-jump you. He can outrun you.
He can box you out
deep. He can box you out.
And then once he gets a step.
Yeah. So stiff hips, whatever.
Work with what you got, but
that's it.
He had plenty of offsetting attributes.
Absolutely.
And he's really showing that, to be quite honest with you. So, yeah. Danger. And don't give Russ the ball.
No, you can't
time if you can avoid it. Another surprise. Lions at Raiders. Bias plus score 41 favored the Lions. We said the Lions, they've got to be tired of the abuse, of the disrespect They got to go. I know they're going to go in there and they're going to get this done.
I didn't say that. I took the Raiders.
You took the Raiders. Bias Plus said the Lions.
Bias Plus said the Lions. I took the Raiders. I think I mentioned they hadn't been home for a while. So that was a big deal. And I also mentioned Josh Jacobs is doing pretty well at the running back position. And Derek Carr is not a bum. So although we know Mr. Stafford, Matt Stafford, has really got the fireworks going in Detroit with the long balls and all the passing and all that stuff, and Jones and Galladay and all that, they have basically no running game to speak of. So when I say these things about teams, like I say about the Buccaneers, Jameis does all this, but they have no running game, and Stafford does all this, and they have no running game. We're talking about a lack of balance, which is what we always talk about the good teams have. Okay, and that's what's making these other teams susceptible to losing games to teams that know how to take advantage of these weaknesses. So here we go. The Raiders defense is not horrible. They're not real good, but they're not horrible. But Derek Carr put together a nice day, 289 yards on 20 completions out of 31 passes, 3 for 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs ran the ball 28 times. This boy's a rookie. 28 carries, 122 scores. Solid game.
Great story. He's a great story.
Yes.
No doubt about it. Okay. All right. So we took it on the chin on that one, or the net points was off on that one. Okay. Who's up next? That's an old comedy routine. Oh no, that's
who's on first?
Yeah. Who did that? I forget.
Evan Costello.
Ah. Browns at Broncos. Bias Plus scored 29, favored the Broncos.
Of course it did. And when we saw that, we both laughed just like that. We're like, ha, 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 ha. Even the Bias Plus doesn't like the Browns. Nobody likes the Browns. The Browns are like Charlie Brown. You know, they get no respect. I wonder why.
And what about what's his name going in with the mustache? Baker. Did you hear about that? He came in with like a full
he was all scruffy, yeah.
And then he came out, I think, for the game with a Fu Manchu.
Okay. And then he came out with just a mustache.
Yeah, it was like just a mustache.
He's tripping, man.
And it's like you keep thinking these guys have things on their mind beyond football.
Right.
You know, OBJ still struggling with wearing your uniform. He can't just conform and wear it and just go in. Then I understand he's starting to moan a little bit. He's starting to come to the sideline. Said I just can't get a pass because that last pass that went to
Landry,
and
he dropped it.
Yeah, and the guy, yeah, 2 people crashing in on him. I mean, maybe he should have caught either superstar.
While OBJ's running free down the field.
Well, he wasn't exactly free. I mean, he had just kind of got past, and he got a step on the guy. He threw his hands up.
Okay.
By that time, the play was off.
Right.
But again, even in play design, what are you trying to do there? You need a first? Get the first. You know what I mean? Get the first. You know, OBJ going deep on all of that stuff. That's nice. If it's there, you can take it.
Oh, yeah,
but
absolutely.
Get the first.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think the first casualty out of this mess, unless they can turn it around, which they can, because if you actually look at their upcoming schedule, there's some games that they're going to have to really screw up to lose. But the first casualty out of this mess may be that coach, because I don't know. I look at him at the podium and he just doesn't seem sure. He seems like the kid at school who does something dumb and you ask him why and he's like, I don't know. I mean, what do you mean you don't know? And he starts telling a long, drawn-out story about something else. That's the guy he seems to me. I don't know.
Have you ever heard of the Peter Principle?
Yes.
This is almost a classic case of the Peter Principle.
Okay.
which is defined as a situation where one rises to their level of incompetence. You know, and it sounds kind of funny, but we've seen it in our corporate history where an employee side by side with us was promoted to manager.
Yep.
And they were not able to function at a high level of manager. That was not their thing. So, you know, they used to talk about, like, if you're a great mechanic, you know, you can really fix that car, and then they make you the supervisor. Well, you're not fixing cars anymore. Now you're managing people.
Right.
You know, and that might not be your forte.
Right.
And now you're in and so again, he might be in that situation that's really looking like the Peter Principle in action there, especially when you've given him the number of personalities and the things. I mean, that's going to be the biggest challenge. You know, this, you look at the ship run by a Belichick, you know, where everybody's on the ship, you know, and they're like almost singularly focused in an amazing way. And then you got over here, and these guys are coming out with Rolex watches, crazy shoes, you know, they're worrying about their mustache and all of that kind of stuff. And, you know, what you thought was you were going to be a playoff team. You thought you were going to run this division. And the discipline required in football is just not there.
Yeah. Too many turnovers, too many mistakes, game after game after game. It's going to be tough. You know what I feel sorry for? I feel sorry for Chubb. I don't think they're using him properly, and I think he could relieve Baker of some of his angst if they would better use their run game. And now the poor guy, Kareem Hunt's going to be eligible, I think, this week or next week. So that's competition for
even more talent. It's not like they don't have talent, you know.
Right, but
now,
we don't
again,
know.
I don't know how good their line is. And I think that's part of the situation, even in terms of Chubb.
I think they're a decent run blocking line. I don't think they excel at pass blocking, which is why every time they get themselves in position where they have to throw the ball, they start having problems. That's my take. I don't know.
All right. How about your take on the Packers were supposed to win this game?
This is another tricky one.
The
Bias
Packers
Plus
were
said
supposed
Packers.
to win this game, man.
I agreed and said Packers.
62 bias score. We're all wondering what happened to the Chargers because they, you know, they just didn't look right. Running back comes back. He don't look right. Next thing you know, he's looking like his old self, man. He's getting it done. And Bosa is saying, I can't
let my little brother. Yeah.
You got Watt on the Steelers with the little brother thing going on.
TJ Watt
got Bosa with the Niners.
Yeah.
The little brother thing going on.
Well, JJ's out, so he can't compete with TJ. But I'm sure Joey's getting tired of hearing his brother's name. He's like, look, I'm the oldest. I'm supposed to be up here. So guess what? We're going to take it to the Packers. And they did. And we'll combine a really good day, turnover free, 21 for 28, 294 yards for Phillip Rivers, and a horrible day for Aaron Rodgers, overthrowing the ball, throwing the ball in the dirt, just looking stinky. A game he'll probably say, you know, it's one of those games. But
did he said something was a humble pie or something like that. He was somewhat gracious in terms of, like, you know, which I guess when you're what are they 7-2 or something, you know, something like that.
That's probably their third loss, I think.
Well, maybe going into that.
Yeah.
Might have been. So, you know, yeah. But
well, they weren't happy about it. And again, now the question is going to rise up again. Are him and the head coach still are completely on the same page as far as this new system is concerned? Because people don't know what else to say. You know, how about maybe the guy just had a bad game?
Happened.
How about the other team just like really took it to him?
And many times, again, it's the matchups. You know, I'm really
exactly.
You know, we really have to begin to focus more on that whole the end, especially with up against those left tackles. You know what I mean? Because when they start losing those matchups, or when you got a guy that's creating a problem, and now if you can't control the line of scrimmage, then you're going to have a problem. So that's where it all starts. Yeah, I played a little lineman in my day. Yes, I did. It's like, you're kind of big. Go over there getting on the line. I'm like, no, you don't want me on your line, guy. Patriots, Ravens, my intriguing game of the week. And ding, 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 the bias buster of the week.
Oh, okay, good.
The Patriots had a bias plus score of 146.
Wow. 146? That much?
That much.
I'm going to refer to something here.
146. They lost by 17. That differential was 163. No team who had an unfavorable bias won by that large of a margin based on what their unfavorable bias was. So that was a really big win. That was a big win in so many ways. When is his contract, his rookie deal up? When are they going to have to pay?
Who, Lamar?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if he signed for like 3 or 5. I'm not sure. But he's about to be rich. So, what do we always say about teams that are playing the Patriots that hope to win? One of the things that we say, you'll probably get it right the first time off. If you want to beat the Patriots, what's something that you have to try to do?
Pressure Brady up the middle.
And what else about Brady?
Well, you got to get to him in under 2.5 seconds.
And you got to keep him off the field.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's what the Ravens did.
That's what the ultimate,
and that's because he can't do nothing.
Good offense is the best defense.
Exactly.
Because he's sitting on the sideline in wonderment,
right?
Watching Lamar.
And that's what they did.
Stuff he does.
Kudos to John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens coaching staff. I hope I don't get struck by lightning. They outcoached Bill Belichick. And I know he is PO'd about that. I know it. They all the windows and doors is locked up in the Patriots complex. Them boys not even going home. He's hot. He's gotta be. That game was masterful. It was a beautiful thing to watch, man. We know that he can run the option offense. You put him in a pistol, you don't know what the heck this kid's going to do. When he's running, he's so special. He turns people around in circles. It's crazy. And one of the things that I speculated when we talked about the game last week was he will only be able to do what he's going to do or what he's going to attempt to do on the ground and through the air if he can use the play action. And that involves Mark Ingram. Well, Mark Ingram.
15
carries, 115 yards.
Mark Ingram.
153-yard run.
Mark Ingram, as far as I'm concerned, okay, grounds that offense.
Absolutely. Biggest pickup they had.
Because
offensively.
You cannot, when he's in there, unless they are just in a completely down and distance situation where the run is, very improbable. You got to play him.
Absolutely.
And you got to play him that he's going to come up and hit you in the mouth. He's going to run you over. That was such a great pickup.
And he can break one on you.
You got kind of a thunder and lightning type situation. Usually we talk about that in terms of, two halfbacks being on the same team.
He's kind of a thunder and lightning guy by himself.
Yeah. He really big about it.
He'll grind out the tough yards where he has to pull somebody along or knock somebody over. And then if he gets an opening or he does knock somebody over, he can take off on you. But success by him breeds complete success by Lamar Jackson. He didn't throw the ball a lot. 17 for 23, 161 yards. That's meager. 3 for 1 touchdown. I think it was in close in the red zone to one of the tight ends. They got like 4 tight ends and they can all catch. It's crazy. They can all block and they can all catch. They really went and did their homework every year in the draft when they picked all these tight ends. The guy Boyle, Andrews, Hurst. That's 3 of them. I can't remember the 4th guy's name. They can all block. They can all catch. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Brady, Ravens defense. I'm sorry, we talked about Lamar and all that. 2 sacks, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery, scored a touchdown. It's tough to beat. Yeah. Even for Tom Brady.
Yeah, and they had such an advantage in the turnover and differential margin that you would think, you know, at one point they got their turnover, and I thought, okay, you know, but man, that's
but Ingram fumbled, right?
Edelman, Ingram.
You're talking about the Ravens had gave up.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about yeah. And he was pissed.
Yeah,
Ingram. Yeah, he was pissed. You could see
because they were playing the perfect game. You could tell. You could look at them and see them going, "Yo, this is working." We got these boys on their heels. Yeah.
I mean, it's man. Again, my intriguing game of the week, the bias buster of the week. That was a game that, you know, I wanted to make sure you didn't miss that one. Now, this next game was the Monday night game, right?
Yes, it was.
All right. Your New York Football Giants went into what's Cowboy Stadium?
No, Cowboys came to them.
Oh, the Cowboys came to the Meadowlands?
Yeah, it just looked like they were in Texas because it was a lot of Cowboy fans.
A lot of Cowboys fans, that's right. And the Black Cats.
That was crazy. And look, I'm watching the game. So the game is close. The Giants are playing pretty well defensively. I think they had an interception already. The Cowboys are looking a little befuddled. And then the Black Cat comes out, and he's running around the field. It was really entertaining. They kept the camera on him. They usually don't do stuff like that. So I'm laughing, and I'm thinking to myself, that's going to be bad luck for somebody. And I'm going, it's going to be bad for us. I know it is. But if we can somehow beat the Cowboys, that Black Cat is going to be my hero, and I'm going to talk about that Black Cat. But chances are it's going to be bad for us.
First of all, that wasn't no little cat.
No, it's a big old healthy cat.
And nobody was going to try to pick him up.
No, sir.
Go near.
Sir.
They were literally herding cats.
That wasn't like a regular street cat. I think that cat either lives in the stadium and probably living off the rats and the garbage. That's why he's so husky. Said that
there was some mention that there's some level of cats
that hang around
in the stadium.
Stadiums harbor stuff cats like. Put it that way. But anyway, yeah,
there's a spot on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, not far from where we have ownership, and there's a whole family of cats that they literally have signs, you know, don't feed the cats, because they have people that feed the cats.
Okay, which makes the cats hang out.
So
yeah. But what I like to say about this game is good job, Dak, getting the win. Good job for really going to work on a defense that's pretty limited in the secondary and not real good against the run either. And I thought it was really amazing how you piled all those points up in the fourth quarter. That was real impressive. Okay. But up to that point, I think the score was 16-15. So don't give me that crap. Y'all still not ready. You still going to mess around and let the Eagles stay right on your tails all the way to the end of the season, because you can't dominate a team that you should dominate. Daniel Jones, I love him. He's my quarterback of the future. He threw some good passes. He had some nice runs. He got down and slid, got first downs, but he also had a couple fumbles. Made some rookie mistakes. It's going to happen. I'll take it. Peyton Manning's first year wasn't great either. I keep reminding myself of that so I don't go crazy. But yeah, Cowboys, I'm not impressed. Good win.
Does he seem to maybe have Danny Dimes have a particular issue with fumbling per se? Because I think that seems to be something that, you know, that might be a pocket presence situation. Things might be happening a little faster. Maybe, you know, he might, you know, because again, going from preseason where you're playing against one level of player to now, and these guys got tricks. They can get around that corner quick.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, if you're in the pocket and the end is bearing down on you, there's not a whole lot you can do unless you know he's there and you tuck it and try to run.
That's what I'm saying about pocket awareness, you know.
But young guy like him is probably like, I can get this off, you know, and he gets his arm hit. Or when he does decide to tuck it, it's too late. He gets popped. It pops out. I'm going to excuse him. I like too many things about him to hold him accountable for all that stuff.
But the Cowboys just ought to have won that game.
Exactly.
They were
That's
ranked
why I said
fourth
I'm
in
not
net points. They're
impressed.
playing a team ranked 27th in net points.
Yeah, I'm not that impressed with how they won that game.
Probably the one thing I will say that the Cowboys did do a good job of was maintaining Saquon, the gift Barkley.
Yeah, he only broke off one really big
Yeah,
run.
he didn't, you know, so they kind of shut that run down a little bit. So they have a defense. They've got, especially got a front, that you're going to have to contend with. And so it's looking more and more like it's going to be a race between them and the Eagles to come out of the NFC East.
Yeah, whoever can make the least amount of mistakes will probably win it.
Will probably win it. Okay, that wraps up the review of Week 9 and leads us into the Bias Plus report, also known as
the Matchup Show.
Show.